A declaration is hereby made that the President does not have authority under the Constitution to initiate changes to the Constitution, and that a constitutional amendment can only be initiated by Parliament through a parliamentary initiative and Article 256, or through a popular initiative and Article 257 of the Constitution. 4. A declaration is hereby made that the Steering Committee on the Implementation of the Building Bridges to a United Kenya Task Force report established by the President, V-Day, Kenya Gazette Notice number 264 of 3rd January 2020, and published in a special issue of the Kenya Gazette of 10th January 2020, is an unconstitutional and unlawful entity. 5. A declaration is hereby made that being an unconstitutional and an unlawful entity, the Steering Committee on the Implementation of the Building Bridges to a United Kenya Task Force report has no legal capacity to initiate any action towards promoting constitutional changes under the Article 257 of the Constitution. 6. A declaration is hereby made that the entire BBI process culminating with the launch of the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2020 was done unconstitutionally and in usurpation of the people's exercise of sovereign power. 7. A declaration is hereby made that Mr. Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta has contravened Chapter 6 of the Constitution, and specifically Article 73, Sub-Article 1, Sub-Article A, Sub-Article 1, that the entire unconstitutional change process promoted by the Steering Committee on the Implementation of the Building Bridges to a United Kenya Task Force report is unconstitutional, null and void. 9. A declaration is hereby made that the Constitution Amendment Bill 2020 cannot be subjected to a referendum before the IEBC carries out nationwide registration exercise. 10. A declaration is hereby made that the IEBC does not have quorum stipulated by Section 8 of the IEBC Act as read with Paragraph 5 of the second schedule to the Act for purposes of carrying out its business relating to the conduct of the proposed referendum, including the verification of signatures in support of the Constitution Amendment Bill and Article 257(4) of the Constitution submitted by the Building Bridges Secretariat. 11. A declaration is hereby made that at the time of the launch of the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2020 and the collection of endorsement signatures, there was no legislation governing the collection, presentation, and verification of signatures, nor a legal framework to govern the conduct of referenda. 12. A declaration is hereby made that the absence of a legislation or legal framework to govern the collection, presentation, and verification of signatures and the conduct of referenda in the circumstances of this case renders the attempt to amend the Constitution of Kenya through the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2020 flawed. 13. A declaration is hereby made that county assemblies and parliament cannot, as part of their constitutional mandates, to consider a constitution amendment bill initiated through a popular initiative under Article 257 of the Constitution, change the contents of such a bill. 14. A declaration be and is hereby made that the second schedule to the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2020, insofar as it purports to predetermine the allocation of 70 constituencies, is unconstitutional. 15. A declaration be and is hereby made that the second schedule to the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2020, insofar as it purports to direct the IEBC on its functions of constituency delimitation, is unconstitutional. 16. A declaration be and is hereby made that the second schedule to the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2020, insofar as it purports to have determined by delimitation the number of constituencies and apportionment within the counties, is unconstitutional for want of public participation. 17. A declaration is hereby made that the administrative procedures for the verification of signatures in support of constitutional amendment referendum made by the IEBC are illegal, null and void because they were made without quorum, in the absence of legal authority, and in violation of Article 94 of the Constitution and Sections 5, 6, 11 and 11 of the Statutory Instruments Act. 18. A declaration is hereby made that Article 257, Sub-Article 10 of the Constitution requires all the specific proposed amendments to the Constitution be submitted as separate and distinct referendum questions to the people. 19. A permanent injunction be and is hereby issued restraining the IEBC from undertaking any processes required under Article 257.4 and 257.5 in respect of the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill 2020. 20. The prayer for an order that Mr. Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta makes good public funds used in the unconstitutional and constitutional change process promoted by the Steering Committee on the Implementation of the Building Bridges to a United Kenya Task Force report established by Mr. Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta is declined for reasons that we've given in our judgment. 21. The prayer for the orders that the Honorable Attorney General to ensure that other public officers who have directed or authorized the use of public funds in the unconstitutional constitutional change process promoted by the Steering Committee, by the BBI Steering Committee, make good the said funds is also declined for the reasons we have given in our judgment. 22. The rest of the reliefs in the consolidated petitions, which we have not specifically granted above, are deemed to have been declined. And lastly, this being a public interest matter, parties shall bear their own costs.